Hello, everybody. Welcome to Feedback for the week of May 21st. You asked for it. We're going to talk about it. Today, we chat about Diablo 3. Welcome to La Programme for our French or Canadian viewers, or our French-Canadian viewers. Today, we were talking Diablo 3. I know you wanted us to talk about it last week, but the reality of the situation is we didn't all have a copy last week, so we wanted to have enough time to play it. We all played it. And we're going to give our thoughts as well as address the review. And then maybe if we have time, talk a little bit about DRM and how that, I think, and I think a couple of people agree with me here, how that affected the launch of this particular game. But before we get into that, just warm things up a little bit, 10 words or less. We'll start with you, Nicole. Tell us a little about your Diablo character.
I'm Nicole, is my demon hunter's name.
Okay, that makes sense.
I have chosen to dye all my armor white. I would have gone with red. Red wasn't available to me. And I'm dual crossbows.
Dual crossbows.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I am right now.
Has anybody else played the Demon Hunter quite a bit?
I played as a Demon Hunter.
Is there a more powerful offensive way to do things than with having dual crossbows? Because I am also a Demon Hunter and I also have dual crossbows.
I don't play with dual crossbows. I play with a bow and a quiver.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe
how
that's
very
crazy.
Hunger Games. You love Katniss, though, don't you?
What can I tell
You're the Katniss of this group right now. And
But
you
what
found
feels cooler than this?
Yeah. The sounds they make, could you rapid fire
And they glow because they're magic?
Yeah.
At least mine are, so.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Steve, what about you?
Crime Funkle is a level 19 demon hunter who fights with a bow, as we established, and will shoot you in the face with the rapid fire because I love the rapid fire. It's probably not the most effective attack, but
It looks the
cool.
coolest.
But it looks and it sounds cool as well.
It sounds cool.
Well, let's dig a little deeper into the name Crime Funkle.
It's half of my hip hop duo, Ryman and Crime Funkle. So
See, but I believe that in his head he has that.
no, I do.
And you
I
all wear
have
shirts like that in your band.
Ryman and Crime Funkle. This is how we dress. We rap about.
Did you record your last album in the favelas of Brazil? Is that
No, this is an official Max Payne 3 Hawaiian shirt with the monogram Rockstar because we're not talking about Max Payne 3, and I said I gotta represent because
sure?
He's
Gotta
repping.
keep it topical,
He's
man.
mad repping.
We
I'm
appreciate
mad
that.
repping. I'm flossing.
Okay.
I'm flossing Max
That
Payne.
is something
I
they
don't-
used to
that's how we
say. I
talk
think.
I don't know what that
Hip-hop world.
means.
Dental
on the streets, we
hygienist
say we're-
terms.
What
Flossing
particular
our-
what hits can
our
we expect
steeds.
from your rap duo? Such titles as
As that cop gave me a ticket. And what do you mean I need a permit? those are the two.
I feel like
Two
you're going
hits.
for a very specific audience.
Definitely, that's
one
what
that
Ryman
isn't
and-
currently catered
Ryman
to
and
by
Crime
the hip hop
Funkle
world.
are geared at white men who are gentrifying urban neighborhoods. So we're trying to fit in with our hip hop.
Right.
Yeah, we have a gang.
Okay.
Los Diablos.
They live at like 119th and Broadway right now in New York, and they're really trying to push
Right,
forward.
we live in Echo Park, and we're called Los Diablos de Gentrificación. That's what we do, and we hold down all of the wine tastings and Tuesday Boggle nights in all of Echo Park. That's
Straight
how we
thug,
roll.
dude.
Yeah.
All right.
Thug
And
life.
you can tell the difference between a brie and a goat cheese, too, I bet, right? Well done, Steve.
I can tell the difference between a brie and a Gruyere any day, man.
The most ineffective neighborhood watch of all time right there. And back to the Diablo
Reality
characters. I assume you've played with all of them.
I have my main is a 52 wizard,
Okay.
and she just blows everything up. I have a move called Archon that transforms me into just a beast, and I kill everything. So it's really fun.
And the 52 Wizard, what are you doing with that 52 Wizard? I assume you're
right
playing
now-
most of the
Right
group
now I'm
stuff at
running
this
her.
point, right?
Yeah, right now I'm running her through hell mode. So there's a bunch of different difficulties in Diablo. So I've done the first two. Now I'm on the third one.
All right. Has anybody created a hardcore hero?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't
No.
even.
I
know.
get too
don't-
attached.
I don't know. I have so many friends playing Diablo right now. I don't know anyone who's made a hardcore
Yeah.
hero at all. Like
I-
it's just I don't see the fun in it. I know some people do, but I just don't see.
I
the
saw
fun
that
in it.
Notch, creator of Minecraft, tweeted that he had made a hardcore. He tweeted all happy about it, and then a few hours later, he was like, "This is the saddest tweet."
Yeah.
And I don't know what to
gone.
do with myself. And the worst part is, and I think I will create one at some point, but the worst part is right now I feel like I'm going to lose that hero, not because of my particular skill level, because I experienced some sort of lag in a battle. And
Yeah.
imagine like leveling something up to like 25 or 30, and
Well,
then there's some lag in something, and you die.
I had a roommate back in college, and he had a level 77 hardcore character back in Diablo 2. And one day our internet lagged, and I just heard a
Oh, God.
and like someone just hit like a door, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" I run out. my hardcore character died. She slams the door. Didn't see him for like 3 days. So like, it's true story. Like,
so sad.
like
Did you check on him at all?
he's playing Diablo 3. So
Okay, so he's all good. I'll tell you what he's not doing, creating
But-
hardcore characters on Diablo 3.
maybe steer away from it if you have rage issues.
All right, or a shoddy internet connection.
Yeah.
At this
Which you
point.
do, because this is America still.
Very, very
I'm
true.
proud, but we're just not there yet.
I brought everybody up to level 10, but I'm playing a demon hunter right now called Roland because I love the Dark Tower series, and I feel like Roland would also be
Demon
hunting
hunter.
demons in this particular, but dual crossbows as well. What I'm finding though, and I don't know if this is an issue that you guys had as well, but I pretty much just spam rapid fire. I'll lay the caltrap, and then
just call
just
trap.
spam rapid fire. Or what I did is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I actually turned on elective mode so that I can create my own toolbar instead of being kind of pushed in the direction that I think Blizzard, although wisely, push people into, because you can create even builds, I think, for people that aren't too familiar with this type of game. But I basically just spam like electric shot and then rapid fire, and then I drop traps, and that's all I do. So you guys find that you're using the same skills over and over and over again?
I find that even at such a high level, like you find your build that you like, which might not be the most efficient build. It might not be the build that everyone is using, but it's your build and it's what feels
Suits your
comfortable
play style.
to you and suits your play style and suits who you're playing with. Because a lot of the abilities that you use in Diablo 3 will change based on who else is in your party. So if you have a barbarian in your group, you're not going to have to use, you're not going to have to use like kiting moves as much because you're going to be able to just,
They'll just wait in
focus
there
on
and- yeah.
hitting it, and the barbarian's going to tank it for you. That kind of stuff. So.
Very much so. All right. Well, I want to get into this, obviously, because we have a lot to say. But before we do, Nicole, why don't we run down kind of the timeline for people like myself who hadn't seen Diablo since college? So let's talk about the development of Diablo 3 when it started.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are aware that this game was a long time coming. It's been a while. So it would officially began development in 2001, back when Blizzard North existed, before Blizzard Activision was this mega corporation. Game was announced in June 2008, so even there, it's a ridiculous amount of development time. From 2001 to 2008, the game went over a complete overhaul. I think some gameplay footage was released a few years ago, and it looks completely different.
Because their lead artist actually left the project halfway through. That's that was one of the reasons why everything changed, and that was a
Right.
huge deal within the gaming community. Why is this lead artist leaving?
Why is he leaving?
Yeah,
Did they ever say why?
they didn't. They
Joining
just,
the FBI is what I assumed.
That's a great story.
I just think that he wasn't. He didn't like the way the project was going, and so he left.
Wow. That's interesting. I'd love to track him down and ask him what he thinks about the
Where
final
are you now?
version of
Behind
this
the
particular
music?
game.
There was a lot of hype about people not liking the art style when there were the last set of, or the first set.
Sure.
of,
Said it wasn't
brighter.
dark enough, right? It's too
Yeah.
bright.
but I'm
and-
not hearing those complaints now, and I don't feel that that's a problem.
Well, I mean, even if the lead artist hadn't left, the amount of time that it took, graphics advanced so much
Sure.
that they would have had to overhaul everything just because of how long it took.
And a game that this long in development, it eventually becomes designed by committee. There's no one vision that's carried through over 10 years of
Right.
development.
Right.
So, things are going to change. But anyway, so sorry, Nicole.
So, 2008, it was announced. By that point, it had gone through 3 major revisions. By 2011, September, betas began. Blizzard began sending out invitations. I think we all played the beta. The release date kind of was delayed into quarters. Finally released in May 15th. OBS. Obviously, I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. I got it.
I'm trying to stop doing that.
I enjoyed watching Steve Johnson's blank look,
I
though.
know. Totes ox.
What?
this word
What does this mean exactly?
Syllables or so, 2011.
Sure.
So, DRM was a big deal. Launch day, people couldn't get onto servers. Error 37, 306, 3006, 3007. I personally had a few problems a few days after launch. Blizzard issued an apology on the 17th about the issues people were having with servers. Said it shouldn't be an issue anymore, and we're addressing it. Everything seemed to be great. However, in the past 48 hours, there's been a lot of reports of hacking accounts. And European servers were taken offline for about 5 hours this weekend, Sunday, because of it. And I'm hearing a lot of reports of people getting hacked accounts now. So
Okay.
it's kind of where we are right now.
Right.
as a
Not a good
community.
place to be. I'm going to go ahead and say it, and people are going to disagree with me, but everybody has their own personal experiences. This is the worst single-player campaign launch I've ever experienced in my entire life, ever in the history of ever. I waited 12 years for the game, and I couldn't play it for 2 days. after it launched.
Yeah,
and that's just me.
I don't think
But-
anyone's going to disagree with
but,
you
I
there.
mean, it was
the
just-
launch was pretty
There's
bad.
just no excuse. The amount of money that this company generates on their other properties and the amount of time they've had and the amount of time the beta was out there where they had people testing the server loads.
And on the beta, it was a huge problem. So they knew during the beta that it was a huge problem, yet they still didn't fix it between September and May.
And I don't understand why that happened. And I know they issued an apology and it was very quirky. And they said, your crusade to bring down the Lord of Terror was thwarted not by mobs of demons, but by mortal infrastructure, which is a very funny way to spin things. But the reality of the situation is that they weren't prepared for this at all. And I don't understand why that is, because it's not only a company that has made games for quite some time, but also a company that's had to manage a significant and sizable community that has an online presence
They're
with
built
WoW.
on
So
online community.
Yeah.
Not to mention, they're not
Right.
this indie company either. They're Blizzard and Activision. Like, I remember complaining about the first week of SWTOR having like a 45-minute queue wait. Like,
Yeah.
how naive I was to
yes.
complain about
Do you remember
that.
the good old days when you only had to wait, but the game still worked eventually?
Totally.
And I mean, we could obviously complain about the problems all day, but I did want to take a little bit of time to maybe speculate as to why this happened. Do you guys have you given any real thought about
I think
why
that
you think it happened?
I think it was just server stress. I think they just were underprepared, and no matter how many pre-orders they have and how many people think they think are going to purchase the game, they were just underprepared for the how many people were going to be playing at 12:01. I think, and they just melted.
Right. That I can understand. And I mean, I don't want to condone this type of activity, future developers and publishers, but the next day I still couldn't play. Like the next night,
I had
I was
issues over
still
the weekend.
unable to play Diablo 3. And
Yeah.
that I
Which
think
if
is
you
inexcusable.
paid $60 for it and you waited in line at a midnight
Sure.
launch or something.
And
like,
10 years.
And most people, I would assume, myself included, took off work
That's
the
what I
next
was
day.
just about to
as
say.
well.
Like all the
I
people who
literally-
took off work.
Yeah,
are
I
just
took
so
off work,
screwed.
man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have. So then I start emailing, like, is there anything that I can do from home that would give me this day that I took off back at some point? Because I'm not really using it the way I wanted to use it.
Max Payne 3 was working fine.
Well, that's
you
why I was
know,
kicking myself. I left
it's-
my copy of Max Payne 3 on my desk.
It's funny too because Cataclysm actually had a great launch
Mm-hmm.
back last year. So I was really expecting Diablo 3 to have a great launch because just as many people are going to be playing Diablo 3, if not less, than are going to be logging into Cataclysm right on time. So
Right.
I was just really surprised with how many problems they had,
Right.
considering it's the same company.
Sure, and we are experiencing them still currently, which
Yeah.
is pretty
on
surprising.
and off, but I mean, I got errors over the weekend of numbers that I just couldn't count to.
Sure.
So.
Here's something crazy that's going to explain a lot of the comments or a lot of the problems that people have with Diablo 3.
Break it down for
is
us,
that,
Steve.
Ready?
Do it in rap form.
The game's not
Crime
finished.
The games, it's very true.
I know
That
that
would've-
Blizzard has this thing where they say, "Oh, well, we only put them out when they're finished." But all indications are, to me at least, in my opinion, the game's not finished.
No
So do they
PvP,
finally
no
succumb to
auction
the
house.
pressure of people saying we want this game this year?
Or
Yeah, I
did
think
they-
so,
Is
but-
it shareholder pressure?
Contractual obligations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't exist in a vacuum. They're not just mad scientists
have to
that
be
can do
out, but,
whatever
I
they
mean,
want.
is
Well,
it
they
still
did have
Pro
like
One?
12 years to work on it.
I
So
know,
I mean,
that's what's crazy
That's a
about
pretty
it.
And
vacuumous
they
type
had
of a.
the whole rest of this year also. Like they
Sure.
didn't. I mean, I don't
Unless
know.
it was a quarter thing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but I think that Blizzard is to the point now where they can release games when they want, and they don't have to.
I just
But then
feel like
why
the
did they release
Activision
this one
influence
without it
is
being finished?
changing thing, and now we know, thanks to the Call of Duty lawsuit, what Blizzard's been putting a lot of money into.
Yeah.
This little project called Destiny that
Yeah.
is
Oh, wait,
on
that's Bungie.
it's Activision Bungie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Activision's
I'm sorry.
had
No,
a.
so that's,
It's
they're
not been a good
paying
week for
it.
Activision.
So I feel like if Blizzard has time restraints the same as other Activision, companies do.
I would agree with you. I think
Reading
there's
those
more.
contracts about the Destiny thing with
They
Bungie
have
and
high
Activision.
expectations that they need to meet.
It just
Sure.
makes me realize, of course, there are those same contracts with Blizzard. Of course, I mean, of course,
Absolutely.
they have benchmarks they have to hit. So they can't they can say in the press, "Oh, we only put things out when they're ready." But that's behind the scenes. It's not
They
like you're
answer
going
to
to tell Bobby
somebody.
Kotick, "Oh, it's when it's ready, Bobby." Like, no, it's when I saying
Yeah.
As he
it.
sits behind his desk and curls his hair maniacally. Because he uses a hair pick for sure, right? Like Codex has got a hair pick in there for sure.
It was one of those with a fist.
Yeah. I want to step away from the server issues and get back to the actual game and the gameplay. And we'll start this off with a question from one of our viewers. Kenny Harper says, I've never played Diablo. What's the story about? I'm curious because it looks like an amazing game, but I want to get my money's worth. Why don't you bring us up to speed on where we are in the Diablo world, and then we'll get right into our review and then what our personal experiences with the game were.
Sure. So in Diablo 3, it takes place 20 years after the events that happened in Diablo 2. And basically what happens at the start of the game is an angel falls down from the sky, and you have to help him find 3 pieces of his sword, which will then let him get his memories back and tell you what you have to do, what your quest is. So you help this angel, and then he basically tells you that demons are going to come and swallow the world up if you don't stop them and trap them inside of this black soul stone. So it's up to you to go out and, confront these demons and trap them. And then eventually, things happen. I don't really want to spoil it, but Diablo ends up coming back, and you have to defeat Diablo, who is
His
the
name's in the
prime
title,
evil.
so.
Yeah, it's kind of like
expected.
you're expecting him to come back. I won't spoil how he comes back, but it's actually really cool. And it's a short story though. I feel like this could have been the whole game of Diablo could have been one act of Diablo 3. And that's where I feel like it feels unfinished in a lot of other ways also, but in just the story aspect alone, like it's not really well told in the game, and except through cutscenes, which are amazing.
Yeah,
the
they
cutscenes
really
in
are.
Diablo
Yeah.
3 are beautiful,
Yeah.
but most of the story isn't told through those cutscenes. It's told through little bubbles on top of characters' heads that.
With the smallest text
Well, yeah, small
ever.
text.
Yeah. It is tiny.
So if you want to get the story, you kind of have to like Wikipedia it and like go and like if you really want the in depth and what everyone's saying, because they don't really tell it in a good way. I feel like in Diablo 3, it's just not the best method.
Which is a bummer
agree.
because their apology was so quirky and well written, and I'm like, where are those writers?
Yeah.
When you were writing Diablo?
I
Yeah.
kind of thought the writing was okay. I mean, the characters were definitely like clearly drawn, and
Yeah, for sure.
Also,
but
Deckard Cain's still alive. He's the cockroach of the Diablo universe. You cannot kill
Never
this
dies.
dude.
Well,
But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, and I should preface this by saying that I played Diablo 2, and we've talked about this on the show. Diablo 2 is my favorite game of all time because it's the first game that I had outside of my parents' house. I played it, I had it in college. I could play it for 50 hours straight, and nobody could tell me to stop. And so I have a certain affinity based on the emotion that I experienced with Diablo 2. But to your point, and maybe I'm misremembering Diablo 2, although I've played it every year since it came out, and I still love it. But Diablo 3 feels like only Act 1 of Diablo 2. It feels like a much smaller. The game doesn't feel big. It feels way more linear than it should feel, and the story feels a lot smaller. And in a lot of ways, it feels very familiar. And I know
Well,
Blizzard was going for that to an extent, but it feels done before.
If you actually like go through and read a lot of the comments online, a few acts in Diablo 3 are almost exact copies of acts from Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. So that's why it feels familiar,
Right.
because
You
it
played
is.
it.
Like, if you think about the desert level in Diablo 2, it's just like the desert level
Sure.
in Diablo 3. It's
I know
the
when I got
same
to it, I was
exact
like,
thing. Yeah, exactly. So you're like, I don't want to be in another desert again. This is
Yeah.
a new game. I want to see something new. I want to see something different. And that's
Snow?
not what you got. Well, there was snow in Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. So, but I mean,
what's the
I don't know.
level cap on
60.
60.
Okay, so and what level are you when you run through the entirety of the game? Like, say you just
30.
Yeah, you can get in a
See,
third. in
so
30.
you can only get through half of the trees of talents and the levels and stuff, and still finish the game, which suggests to me that it's supposed to be a bigger game,
But,
right? I mean,
but that's not, no.
no,
Sorry.
Okay.
For Diablo, the point is that you get to level 30 and then you run it on higher difficulties. Not that there's more to the story after that. It's that they want you to be high enough level so that you can run through the higher difficulty. So at level 30, you're supposed to be able to run it on nightmare difficulty. That's the point. Not that there's more of a story
Wouldn't
after.
it be cool though that if that were one of 3 stories?
Yes, it
and
would
then-
be amazing.
You know
That's
what
what
I'm saying?
everyone
Like,
wanted.
yeah. Like-
No one is disagreeing with
Because
you there.
I know me personally, and this is just me. After I finish the game, I'm not gonna try to do it again. I'm not gonna
Right.
go to the desert environment
Right.
and like kill
Sure.
even bigger mobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah,
just
I
not
don't
gonna
see
do that.
myself doing. I'm going to finish the game, and I'm at like 26 or 27 right now. I'm pretty close, I think, to the end of the game. But what I'll do is I'll definitely go back and run it again with my friends, but I'll re-roll a completely different character. I once I finish with this, like, there's no incentive for me to just go play it again on a harder difficult because I'm not that type of gamer. And I would argue that most people are probably more like Steve and I, and less like the gamer that's going to go through and
Which
play
is
it back through.
How I've played it the entire
Yeah.
time, pretty much. So it's interesting because like there are very different play styles with Diablo, and it's kind of, as I talk about it more, it's more like the casual who wants to play it, wants to test out the characters, wants to go through the storyline once, and then the more core gamer who wants to beat it on all the harder difficulties and wants to test out all the spells and doesn't care about dying their items as much, or doesn't care about going through the story, just
my
stuff like
character
that.
looks pretty cool though.
I'm not saying
But I'm all white, damn it.
No, I dyed all my items white too. But I'm just saying, like, I think that there are two different play styles for Diablo 3, and it's hard to cater to both. And I don't know if Blizzard did a really good job catering to
Either.
one or the other.
Sure. Well, I don't think that there's no incentive. I mean, outside of wanting to challenge yourself on a different level, like the story is not. There's no incentive for me to play through it again because I don't care about experiencing the story
Right.
again.
In a game like Dragon Age, the first one, if you chose a different class, you had a slightly different story. And like I feel like had they made an effort to, if you choose a completely different kind of class, and they made a minor effort to make your story a little bit different, even casual gamers would want to replay
Yeah,
it.
It almost seems like they thought of that though, like in a weird way, like
And
the
then decided
beginning
not
where.
to?
Well, no, here's what I'm saying. Like in the beginning, when the
opening
You have
cinematic?
your opening.
Yeah.
The 25 seconds of uniqueness, and then you get back into the same exact
Yep.
story as everybody else.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that they had thought of, and in the plot, that the thing falls out of the sky, and you have to go and figure out what it is and all that stuff. You could have had a whole opening act that was different with each of the different characters that got you to that same point.
It's very strange to me that they didn't have that, because I mean, obviously they didn't have it in Diablo 2, but in StarCraft, every race has their own like starting zone
Guild
and
Wars
stuff.
2 will?
Guild Wars 2 will, but that's not a Blizzard product. But like World of Warcraft, there are 10 races, and every single race has their own
Yeah, they have their own
starting
cities
zone, and it's like a big thing. So you would think that within the Blizzard family, they would kind of keep up with that and make an original starting zone for each character. And
Right.
back to your point about replaying the game over and over again, I think Diablo 3 is like a circle. You just play it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and for no reason, because there's no end game for some reason.
Sure.
There's just no end game. There's no PvP. There's no end game. There's no reason to use the auction house. Like, why?
Well, that, I mean, then the auction
it all
house
comes back
is.
to the same explanation, which I can just only assume that it's not finished.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Then there's that question of why isn't it finished?
Well, I also have to think Diablo 2, back to Diablo 2, like, that's all Diablo 2 was people going over and killing Baal over and over and over and over again for the last 10 years. People are still probably right now on Diablo 2 killing Baal.
Sure.
Like, that's what they do.
Poor
But
guy.
at least for me, what I wanted to do is I played Diablo 2 over and over because I was always searching for a weapon that I'd never found before, and the auction house completely eliminates the need for me to do that. Although I haven't used the auction house yet, but I probably I've been on it and I've seen how it functions, but that takes away the only reason I've continued to play Diablo 2 for the last couple
One
years.
of the smartest things that Blizzard did with Diablo 3 was the auction house and making it so that each person can only put up 10 items at once. Because if they would have let everyone put as much crap as they wanted to up there, then it would be so overflooded and you would be able to find anything that you wanted. But a really smart design choice on Blizzard's part was for them to limit how many you could put up, and you can't cancel your auctions either. So if you put it up, you have to like really want to put that item up, and you're only going to put up the stuff that you want and that's going to sell and that's really high quality.
Yeah.
So, which is good for the players, but at the same time, it really does take it all out of all the fun out
There's
of it.
no, I mean, my buddy, I was talking about, I finally got on the game, and my buddy Eric, he was like level 19 already, and this was literally like day 2, and he's got a real job. So I'm like, what happened? He's like,
I beat it
just
on
went.
day 2.
He's like, I just went, but he went on the auction house and bought a bunch of items that give you bonus experience every time you kill a monster. So he immediately outfitted himself with like
experience
every
gear.
time he
That's
killed something, he
smart.
got like 150 extra XP, and he's like, I'm power leveled. And I'm like, that's to me. defeats the.
That's people's complaint with free-to-play games, is that you can just buy the best items. And I feel like people are always saying how this is what they hate about free-to-play games, and yet everyone's exploiting that in Diablo.
Right.
Well, it obviously works. I mean, like you know what I was totally shocked with in the gameplay sense was I figured it's a PC game, I'm a console gamer, and it's something that Leah's into. And if Leah wants to play it, it's going to be hardcore. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to. And then I played it, and I was shocked by how easy it is. Like, I was like, oh. And I'm playing just on the normal difficulties. I know I haven't unlocked the more difficult levels, but at the same time,
it's very, very simple.
Easy.
It's very simple on normal difficulty. And I think that's because of hardcore mode, because hardcore mode doesn't make the game any harder. It just makes it so if you die, you die. So I think that they, again, are catering to casuals who are like, well, I die, I lost my character. Like, you know, but they made it really easy. So
You looked at me when you said that.
well, no, I didn't mean
You're wearing
that,
a floral print shirt.
But
So
I mean,
With
I just think,
parrots,
I
mind
just
you.
think that might be one of the reasons. I also feel like some people who don't play video games that much, but who like hear that Diablo is an awesome game and get it, they might not know that like a wizard needs intelligence gear or a demon hunter needs dexterity gear. So, you know, and there's so much gear that's dropping, and it's not all blues and yellows. Lots of it's whites and grays, and a lot of people are wearing that. So for those people, it's harder. But if you actually have a glimmer of an idea what to do, then it's a lot easier.
But there's
Right.
no tutorial in normal mode.
Yeah,
so
no
like if there
tutorial.
was a super
Yeah, you gotta
casual
figure
mode
it
that
out.
explained things to you, that would make sense.
Yeah,
but the
I
normal
agree.
mode is the easiest mode.
Yeah,
So,
it
But if you
needs a
played any
tutorial.
MMO, like, I mean, if you played World of Warcraft
You know,
more
yeah,
than
white
even
loot is.
casually, you know what white
Yeah.
is.
But a
or
lot
an
of people-
RPG for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean.
But a lot of
Well, if
people
you can read.
don't play that, and it's just weird that
You
it
could win
doesn't
the whole
have
game
a
without having the right gear, couldn't you?
yeah, for sure.
I
Easily.
don't feel like Diablo 3 is a game that like the most casual gamer who has Angry Birds on his phone is going to pick up. I
See,
think
it's
Diablo
weird.
3 has an aura around it that people know this game is for a specific kind of person.
But I played it, and it reminded me, and I'm about to alienate every Diablo 3 fan. Are you ready? It reminded me of Farmville. Because
I think you need to explain it.
you click the box, the gold pops out, you click the gold. You go to the next place, you fight the guys that you
click
click
a lot.
on.
You do that.
And then you click the gold, and it's all just this constant progression, and the progression is smooth to the point of like catering directly to people's internal addiction centers. I mean,
Yeah,
because
like-
I want to be playing the game right now because I'm totally addicted to it.
Yeah.
No doubt. But at the same time, it's like once you understand the mechanics of it's basically as our producer Mike DeLonzo put it, it's Skinner box the game. You hit a button and the food pellet drops. And you hit a button and the food pellet drops. Which is cool, and
Sure.
I'm not complaining. It's just so different than, say, Max Payne 3, which I was also playing, which is like a completely immersive and visceral, and it doesn't make you feel good to play it, but it takes a lot of skill, and it's very, very hard.
Well,
And
I feel
the progress
I
is
don't
so
know.
hard to earn, and
I think if you played on the harder difficulties, then you would
That's true.
then you
You're
would
right.
feel like you were progressing, and you would feel like a lot more immersed because there's so much more going on. And if you played in the multiplayer, again, there's just so much more that comes out of it when you play Diablo 3 in a multiplayer setting rather than on normal by yourself.
it's kind of interesting because if they designed a game that a guy who's super casual could win without even knowing how the gear worked, and also a game that the hardcore can play.
Sure. Well, that's what we were
like-
talking about before
Yeah.
we started this. One of the things that obviously, I think when the game was first announced, people really started talking about it. The fact that they were going to eliminate skill points completely and just streamline the skill experience. People were really upset about that. And
yeah, for sure.
but what it's done, this new thing that they've created, is it's allowed the very casual person who maybe doesn't understand how these things work to create a build that, for the most part, will always be beneficial to them, regardless of what they choose. Whereas, like somebody like me who has played this stuff before, once I figured out kind of what I needed to generate mana or whatever you're using and what I needed to, all those things, then I turned on elective mode, and then I just built out my character, skill points notwithstanding, I built out my character the way that I would. Like now, my Demon Hunter, it's pretty much just all offensive spells. Like I don't really use any of the defensive stuff at all. And
well, a good way to build it is to have one move that generates
Sure.
your resource, and then have one move that uses your resource, and then have two kind of utility moves.
and that's
that can
what
do.
they did. That's what they do for you by default.
Right.
Is
And they
they
tell
make
you
you
defensive,
they make
offensive.
you do that, and I think that's a great way. But that's a good example, I think, of being able to cater to both the casual and the hardcore audience. In that there is a way, although nobody talks about it, elective mode, but there's a way to actually
Yeah, we have actually on
build that out.
G4TV.com, there's a tip video, a Diablo 3 quick tips video, and one of the tips is how to turn on elective mode.
Sure.
So you can
We
check
should
that out.
try to create a character that's so bad it couldn't win the game. Like, could we
And then
gimp
have
our
it win
skill
the
tree?
game.
Could we gimp our skill tree so much
Well,
that
there is
you
no
wouldn't
skill
be able
tree,
to?
so
Well, no, I don't mean.
I'm sure
I mean
we
the skill
could.
system. I mean, like, I guess if you didn't have any
No
runes
runes.
working at all,
All defensive spells.
all defensive.
I don't know how fun that would
But
be.
you still have to
I don't
play it
know.
as if you wanted to finish the game, right? I mean, you
Right.
still have to be smart about the way you play. You just have you're wearing all white gear, gray gear, whatever. Yeah, that could be fun, probably just for us.
Yeah.
But it could be
Fun
interesting.
to talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
we'll
I
see.
bet you could still win the game, even where like.
I mean, you could have one of the NPCs. There are 3 even if you do play solo, which I prefer to play multiplayer.
Take all the weapons away from the NPCs. Just don't give them anything.
I guess you could just give the Templar the shield.
Yeah.
They fixed that bug, so.
Yeah. And we've kind of been bagging on it, but it did get a 4.5. And Kevin Kelly wrote a great review. I personally disagree with his evaluation of the game. I would have given a little bit lower score, but there are some great things about the game. Number one, it does look amazing. And it plays, to
God,
your
yeah.
point, it is so fluid. And they do the progression of the game. They funnel you in this direction. And
I didn't experience any bugs, now that I think of other than the internet issues, which I think are ridiculous. I mean, I have a
me either. I didn't have any bugs
But
either.
I had no, there was no glitching
I had
or
it lag a couple of times.
Yeah, but
lag.
Yeah,
I
lag was definitely
had
my
lag.
big-
I
my
was
big
booted.
issue.
The chat's awful. Like if you're playing on a laptop and you want to read anything on the screen, it's gonna be awful for
Right.
your eyes.
But I think back to graphics. A lot of people are kind of dogging on the graphics, but actually, if you think about it, like if you're playing on multiplayer with 4 people and you have hundreds of things coming at you on the screen, they can't have the graphics any better than they already
Sure.
are, and they already look amazing.
And they're incredible.
Yeah.
So
The
if
graphics.
you
Who's
take
talking
a
about
look
the
at like
graphics,
the
man?
the
That's-
spell effects and all the particles on the screen and everything, like it looks so good. It's so pretty. It's such a pretty game to look at.
I think
when
people just aren't used to the camera angle. I
Yeah.
think they're just used to being really up close with really big scenery right behind the main character, and they're used to being able to at least zoom in. Like every time I get a really cool crossbow, I want to take a picture of it because that's something I do.
Sure.
And you can't zoom in. Like you click Z once, and that's all you got.
And another
Yeah.
thing is you can't customize like anything other than your gear, or you can customize your character. You can say that your character is customizable, but you can't customize the way that they physically look other than their gear. You can't change their hair or anything, and that's not a huge deal in Diablo 3, but it's something that the game is lacking. And I don't know, that's like
It's weird.
That's one of, like,
If you're
my
playing
pet
with
peeves
Two
that-
demon hunters and they're both female and they have different dialogues. It's the same head that comes up.
Yeah, so I don't know, but at the same time, I have to say that I'm really enjoying Diablo 3. I think that if you play with friends who all kind of know what they're doing and understand how the game works, and how you have to pull certain things this way or whatever, it's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding when you do get that piece of loot that you want. And it does feel like a Diablo game, so you still feel that, like, just one more level, just one more level, just one more level kind of thing. And it does, like, bring back that nostalgic feel, but you just want more.
I
And
agree. I feel like there's no real. While I agree with you 100% that it feels like Diablo, and that's fantastic, I feel there's just no innovation. There's nothing new to
I
it.
feel the
Like,
same way.
it just doesn't feel like, and we live in a world where, like, games like Torchlight are $10 and are pretty much Diablo clones, but in a
Right.
lot of ways, Torchlight maybe does Diablo better than Diablo.
I read
like,
so
it's just,
many reviews that said, this is great. Can't wait for Torchlight 2.
Yeah, so
well, someone on my Twitter said that Diablo 3 once again reformed the genre. Like, no, it didn't.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
If anything, like,
incorrect.
what did it do? It
did
made
the bare
rune
minimum.
systems, but rune systems are kind of like glyphs in World of Warcraft. So they already did that in World of Warcraft. They already had an auction house in World of Warcraft. So
Yeah.
they're bringing it to the action role-playing genre, yes, but it's not things that maybe people really like that much.
it's not a next generation Diablo.
Yeah,
It's a nice,
maybe
it's a nice
2008's
tip of the cap
Diablo.
to the Diablo franchise, but I definitely don't think they've brought it into the
It's
new.
like they polished everything to such an extent that it's beyond polish.
Right.
I mean, the game is so addictive that you literally, like, I want to be doing that more than I want to be doing anything else, and I don't even know why. Like, I don't even know if it's fun. I just want to keep doing it. Like, I don't even know if I'm having fun when I'm playing it, but I can't stop playing it ever.
What did you say about the game yesterday? You had like a catchphrase for it.
Oh,
You said that Diablo 3 is
I think we compared it to meth for a while.
No,
Did you ever compare it to
said like,
Quaaludes?
you said that like it's addictive, but it's not fun or something like that.
Yeah, it's the most addictive game ever, but it's not really a fun game.
Okay, so it's like drugs in a lot of ways.
In other words, yeah, like you.
This
have
is great while
Not
I'm
the
doing
fun
it.
ones,
It's not
though.
very fun when I really think about it.
You know, well, yeah, like when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and your finger hurts from
Right.
clicking so many.
I
You don't know where to
remember
hide the
I
body.
was at I was on my keyboard like the day after it came out or something, and I literally was falling asleep, and my friend was like, "Leah, you just have to get to the
just
end
stop.
of this act, and then you can stop." But no, he wasn't telling me to stop. He was telling me to keep playing this game,
Right.
and I was like, "No, I have to go."
It's
to
not a
sleep.
good thing. It's not a good thing. But again, we gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Look, if you're a fan of this genre or the series, you should definitely play this game. Although we did spend about 30 minutes talking about all the bad things in the
Do you
game.
I know
think
we
it's
really
worth
didn't
60
cover all the
bucks?
positive
It's
things.
not a $60 game. I'll say it right now. I don't think it's a $60 game at all. But that's just my opinion. And
I think it
opinion
is,
that-
but then I got money like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're an oil baron. I wanted to close off with one more, just a little quick fire. One more fan feedback question. Jabu says, "What new classes would you like to see in the inevitable expansion pack? Please no typical classes like knights or rogues." So, just quickly, what would you like to see in an expansion? What class do you think is
I
missing?
know this is going to be completely against what Diablo is doing, but I'd like to see something a little more customizable. Like, let me kind of make something. Or, better than that, let me customize the classes I already have.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nothing real specific. Just
I
you want to
want
see
more of
changes
what I
in the
already
game?
have.
Sure. Okay, Steve.
I would like to see a class called the Satanist. And there would be like
They
an
actually
old,
helped Diablo the
an
entire
old
game.
school like
That's how-
19 yeah, exactly. An old school 1950s style Satanist who's performing rituals and is helping Diablo to destroy adventurers.
All right, I like that.
I just think there needs to be some shape-shifting class. They had a druid in Diablo 2, and I think it would be a good fit for Diablo 3. It could fill a lot of roles. So
All right, I'm going to take your idea and go in the exact opposite direction. I want a pacifist class where all you do is walk around and talk the monsters off the ledge.
You'd think
Guys,
the monk would be that, but
this
he
is-
kind of...
No, he's very violent.
Yeah.
Just
Why are
somebody
we
who's like,
fighting?
I just don't understand why this needs to be the case.
Why do we hate each other?
We're in the
man?
desert. What we could be doing with all of your magic abilities is we could find a way to grow things here, maybe help the environment a little bit
Recycle,
more.
reuse.
Worst class of all time, and it would do $0 in the retail space, but that's the class that I would like to see.
But it would improve the world altogether.
Very much
Sanctuary
so.
would be a sanctuary.
Sure. And Deckard Cain would be involved at some point because he is
Yeah.
the longest standing character in the history of video games. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks for talking about Diablo 3. Again, it's not a bad game. I'm sorry if we bagged on it for as long as we
really
did.
did bag on it hard.
Yeah, but we don't have enough time to say all the good things. But thank you guys for being here as well. Remember, the week of E3 on June 7th at 11 a.m., we're going to be doing 2 hours of live feedback. You can send all the questions you want to hashtag E3 feedback. Is that right, Nicole?
Yeah.
Look at that. I remember this from last week. I'm
for
very
you.
proud of myself. Hashtag E3 feedback. We're going to try to answer all of your questions live. It's going to be a great time. And as usual, you can check new episodes of Feedback on G4TV.com every Wednesday at G4TV.com/feedback. See you next week.